still the foot.
And we're live. I've got Kenny Ken in the building. People deluded. I'm back again. We won 7-1, Kenny, man. Do you believe? Are you in good spirits? How you doing?
I'm in a lot better spirits. I always say that if you're going to mass anytime soon, please thank the Lord for PSV. Thank the Lord for PSV, because when you're going through a bad patch, when morale's very low at your football club, you always need a PSV, a team that doesn't know how to defend, gives the ball away, doesn't take their chances, makes all the wrong footballing decisions.
Plays like pork chops, as you would say.
Absolute pork chops. The third goal was comical. The defending for the first two goals was non-existent. The goalkeeper parried everything. But you know what? You need that in football. You need those kind of breaks where cast your mind back to last week. Couldn't hit a barn door from a yard. You know, Marino was what he was, a makeshift centre forward. Odegaard was a player that was completely out of form. You know, Declan Rice was non-existent. The defence was probably our only mainstays. Our goalkeeper was probably so bored against Nottingham Forest, he tried to get himself in the action. And then yesterday, it all comes in place. But we need to calm itself down in terms of, like, first the performance, look at the opposition. Thank the Lord that all future podcasts, you can actually have a preview for either Real Madrid or Atletico Madrid. That is one luxury that I really love to do. I know that when I go to the Emirates Stadium next week on the 12th of March, my birthday, I know.
Happy birthday in advance, man.
All I know, right, that I've got a choice of either putting my feet up, putting up with a B side, or just watching a carnival of football. But a carnival of football and Arsenal don't quite marry together this season.
Talking cheese, man. You're bang on the money. So do you think it was a case of Arsenal were good or PSV really bad, or in between the two?
Look, we're ruthless. You have to, where I come from, if you in football, you don't get much going for you these days. Teams are scared to lose. Teams play with a low block. Everyone's an athlete. It's extremely difficult to even score one goal in football these days, especially in that level of tournament. So you have to enjoy it whilst it happens. We ain't going to learn much from PSV, but one thing we are going to learn is who we're going to play, who we're either going to play next game. But PSV are in terrible form. You know, them getting to like the last 16 was in spite of their poor performances in the Eredivisie. And let's face it, the guy was in charge in a lot, spot of bother. But you still have to go in there and you have to win, because a lot of Arsenal fans beforehand didn't think we were going to win. They would have accepted.
Me, myself included, man. Form dictated we should be a bit cautious.
Yeah, they were accepting a 1-0 loss or a good result before hindsight exists would have been a 0-0. So you have to back to the Emirates. But there's a lot of hysteria that we need to sort of like temper. For instance, a lot of people saying that Ranieri can't be left out of the team, and when Xhaka gets back in the team, Ranieri needs to be kept in the team. No, what we're doing with Ranieri is fine. Don't put too much expectation on him. Let him just enjoy his football when he gets his chances, and then let him build his way up. And then, if and when he proves to be good enough, he'll get a regular place in the side.
I don't think he's good enough already.
Let's just enjoy him. Let's just enjoy his development. There's so many things he needs to learn for the game. Right now, games like that, he had a free rein. He didn't have to, track back. All he had to do was press, get himself to a position where he had a lot of space. You've got to remember.
Trigger happy in the second half as well. Couldn't stop shooting. I love it.
And that's what you've got to remember. right now we know what he can do when he's got space to work with, and when teams make mistakes. We need to learn more about him in bigger games where there's less space, where he can have less touch of the ball. So when he does get the touch of the ball, it has to be precise. Just let him enjoy it. Don't put too many labels on the lad. The same with lewis-skelly. A lot of people, put labels on him. Let's just enjoy. I'm hearing rumours that Thomas Tuchel now wants to get Ranieri into the England squad. The same thing they were looking at getting lewis-skelly. Why? Let them enjoy their football. Let them learn the trade at Arsenal. And then when they've played enough games for Arsenal, 50 or 60 games, then England can come back. England's going nowhere. These guys, if they prove to be good enough, England's always out there. England are always going to need left backs. England are always going to need some sort of creativity. But right now, let them prove themselves for Arsenal. Let them enjoy, a big run of games coming towards the end of this season, next season, rather than rush them.
You know how football works though now, Kenny, though, man. You're a superstar if you've done the business for 16, 17. It's at 16, 17. Like, you look at Max Dolman, who I'm very excited about, but piggybacking off what you said, just calm down and let these guys develop. They're already hyping them up. What I would say is, I know for a fact lewis-skelly and Ranieri, they come from a good home, a very grounded people around them. As difficult as it is, it'll be cool. Huh?
It's not them. And it's certainly not their families.
Yeah, no, it's the media and the fans and stuff they can't control. All they can control is themselves and just going step by step.
You know who's called putting the pressure on, don't you? Majority of people, the people putting the pressure on, the media and maybe our fans, our high-profile influencers.
They're the same ones to tear them down when they inevitably have a bad game. Like lewis-skelly was great. I do think the manager made a good decision to hook him off because it was a second yellow. I think the ref just allowed him. So he's got a lot to learn.
That's the problem with lewis-skelly. As much as I want him tempered, I don't want a situation where his confidence goes, because I can see a situation now because of the high profile incidents. Wolves, which got rescinded.
He's a marked man now already. That'll follow his whole career, in my opinion.
Yeah, but you can deal with that.
Fact.
It's the manager's mind now. As the manager now thinking, you know what? When we play with Atletico or Real Madrid, I can't afford to be down to 10 men. He may look at that now and say, you know what, mate? You can't play. I can't trust you in the games.
Humour me then, Kenny. Yeah, assuming that's the case. Yeah, just because before I forget, humour me. If we was playing them tomorrow, what you just said about lewis-skelly, and I kind of think that ties into Calafiori, like Forest. Could you see the manager putting Timber left back and bringing White in if that was the case?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You've seen in the last month, and certainly yesterday, you've seen Arsenal's right back for the foreseeable future. I can categorically say to you now that whether you have your preferences or not for Benjamin White or Jurrien Timber, you would have to look at last night's performance. I know it's only PSV, but look at the performance against Nottingham Forest. Look at the overall
season really from Timber.
And how can you drop Timber on the bench or put him at left back? It's a dereliction of duty. It's a poor decision in itself. And right now, he is going to be one of the best right backs in this country. And I've got to really, really be honest with myself. And I mean really, really honest. Benjamin White will be a very good deputy for Timber, but he will never be his superior. No way. I explained in last week's show my reasoning. It's for footballing reasons, it's not personal. But I ask you again: have you ever seen Timber get done by inverted left wingers with?
I remember this conversation. No, I haven't. Tim, I love Timber because the main thing is I think he's got a bit, respectfully to White, because I like him. He's got a bit more about you going forward. He's a bit more. He's more solid defensively. He's a bit like lewis-skelly, but more of a polished way in that he's very tigerish. I just care about the depth, man. Like you said there, if White's got to be the deputy, he's got to be the deputy. And I think this season has shown you need depth. What a hell of a player he is.
Well, you've got to ask yourself a question. Let's be honest, we are going to play in the quarterfinals. So if we're in the quarterfinals, I can carry. You've got to ask yourself a question: who would you play against Vinicius Junior, who's one of the best players in the world? For me, should have got the Ballon d'Or, but that's my personal preference. If you win the Champions League, then I think that should supersede everything. Don't get me wrong, winning an international tournament with your country is brilliant, it's beautiful, but winning an international tournament is more relevant and more prestigious probably 20 or 30 years ago than it is today. In today's football, it's a Champions League or bust. You look at the amount of Ballon d'Ors Messi and Ronaldo got. Now, Messi and Ronaldo didn't win major tournaments for their countries until probably into their 30s. But because of their performances in the Champions League, they were not only nominated, they were sharing the Ballon d'Or between themselves because there's
a natural recency bias with that Euros as well, if I'm honest.
Yeah. And
people remember it straight away.
But if you go by today's reckoning, the player that wins the Champions League tends to be the player that goes on to win the Ballon d'Or. So
100%.
For them to change it is quite extraordinary. But going back to the footballing situation and where I think Arsenal should play, who would you rather have marking Vinicius Junior, Benjamin White, or Jurgen Timber? It's open to the floor and it's open to the chat. But from a footballing perspective, don't get me wrong, it's going to be difficult to stop Vinicius Junior anyway. Even if Timber's in the form of his life, but Vinicius Junior is a fantastic player. You know why he's brilliant? Because he's direct. He's everything you want in you want in a player.
In a modern day winger / inside forward.
You want somebody with pace who actually runs at defenders. You want someone with pace that he has an end product. You cannot say that a guy's not got an end product, which is going to be very, very different. Which means when we do play Real,
he only needs a moment.
Yeah, which means Jurgen Timber is going to need Saliba big time, because Saliba you're going to find even with what I mean.
No, naturally, anyone that's played football, your centre back's going to have to help you out. Like someone like Vinicius, you're not going to keep him quiet for 90 minutes. You just have to win the war, not necessarily the individual battles. But it goes back to what you said about social media. People don't see football like that.
And of course, that because simple reason is that social media, what we see is we don't look at the subject the subject, verb, and the object. All we look at is the subject, the finished article. We don't look at the beginning, how we create it in the end. And that's the thing. We're very much we're basically, how to say it, we're basically a highlights reel. For instance, you'll see a player that you like, and then you'll watch probably 10 minutes of him scoring great goals, 10 minutes of him, basically beating a couple of players, and you think that's it. That's how he plays all the time. You don't actually watch games over a period and judge a player. But that's how we are now. We want everything fast and yesterday, and that's why we're very impatient. And let's be honest, which kind of videos get the most views on social media?
The exaggerated truths. They're saying if I say Wanyeri's a good player, but let's take our time, kind of what we're talking about on one hand, and then I say Wanyeri is a generational talent, he's the best thing since sliced bread. We all know the latter is the one that's gonna go viral, man. Like what do they call it, grifters and that.
And the situation is, you got to remember, Wanyeri is still a kid. He's still got a lot to learn. He's still
in the honeymoon stage where everything you do is great.
Oh, 100%. We've seen it many times, man. I can go back 40 years. I can go back. If there's any Spurs fans in the chat, and I know Spurs fans in the chat, I remember back in the day, 1987, you had a player called Paul Moran. He's way ahead of your time. But
way ahead, mate. We're in classes in session. We're learning.
In 1987-88, Spurs had a player, Enfield-born player called Paul Moran. He was the next best thing. He was coming on, and all Spurs fans think, yeah, the next best thing. What happened? You have to. Sometimes it doesn't happen. Injuries, or they're not as they've peaked at that age.
A marathon, man.
Or Everton have had players like Michael Branch. Young player went to Everton. He didn't really make it.
So, you had hell of them at Arsenal.
And then you've got loads of players who sometimes. That's why you've got to temper it. And you think about the reason why I'm against lewis-skelly and Wanyeri getting England recognition and being put in the squads. Look what's happened with Kobe Mainoo. That is a player that had a fantastic end to the season at Man United, was fast-tracked into the England team and actually did really well. But it was a case where the second season he's had his injury. He's probably needs to learn.
Bit of reality setting in. Like the realities of being a footballer. It's not all just up here.
Who's that kid at Crystal Palace? Walton. Another one.
He's been unfortunate with injuries.
Injuries, but I'm hearing reports that Real Madrid are interested in him.
I think that's paper talk, man. He's not ready for that.
He's
just got his feet at Palace.
Look at Goulet, the young Turkish lad who's at Real Madrid. Fast track.
Hendrick as well.
Let them just learn their trade. Enjoy.
But Kenny, the modern day's gone beyond that now, man. It's gone back. Like I'm 29. I would say the first half of my year, if you were someone like, I don't know, Wanyeri and all of that, and you was at a slightly smaller club, they would wait to see a body of work before you go to an Arsenal or whatever have you. Nowadays, like you see because it happened with Vinicius, Neymar's probably the last one that kind of stayed to a certain level. If you're a talented young player, 30, 40 million, bang, me and you see it every week. Chelsea are buying all of them, whether they work or not. I think that's the modern day now. Everybody's potential is the biggest buzzword. And as you said, it doesn't always correlate.
It doesn't always correlate. And I'm not saying that Wanyeri and lewis-skelly are not going to make it. That's far from that.
No, you're just urging caution.
Let's not forget Odegaard, our captain, was bought by went to Real Madrid at 15. It's only now
that we've seen him.
That he's actually, since he's come to Arsenal, when did he come to us? At the age of 22, 23?
Yeah,
21, 22? Yeah, that's when he's had to have a portfolio of work, but he didn't get that portfolio of work at Real Madrid. He had to go on loan to Herveen. He had to go to Real Sociedad
as well,
like that, to learn his trade. And that's where you think, you know what? Let them learn their trade. Let them. Aaron Ramsey, when he came to us, he had to learn his trade and became a great player. Jack Wilshere also had he had to learn. Obviously, injuries were his enemy, but I do think you've got to preserve your gems and use them properly. Don't overplay them. Don't overhype them. Let them enjoy their football. Let them learn, because there's always going to be difficult patches. There's going to be situations where they are going to get out of form. They are going to be indisciplined, and they will get injuries. Because next season, I promise you, next season, lewis-skelly and Ethan Wanyeri there'll be managers who will think, right, we've got a plan for Ethan Wanyeri.
That's the next step. You've gone from being a secret weapon to a known entity. We've seen it with Xhaka.
And that's how they got to learn about the situation. Look
how to adapt and evolve.
Develop and learn that, all right, defenders are not going to let him come on his left foot. So he has to develop his right-hand side, be able to cross and shoot with his right foot.
He's working on his right peg as well.
You know what I mean? And then there's going to be managers said, right, if you're getting lewis-skelly's head, just run at him, because he's going to go to ground, or do things off the ball to him and wind him up, because we know that if he just sneezes, the referee's going to book him.
He's gone, Mark, man.
So you've got to learn all of those sort of situations.
No, but Kenny, what you're saying there is facts, but I don't think many people comprehend that, because you've clearly played grassroots level football of some capacity. Me the same, and the majority of people in the comments. But the wider footballing world, they don't see any of this. As far as they're concerned, best thing since sliced bread, until, like you said, the red card or the mistake or a little patch of form. These same ones that were proclaiming they were the messiahs and the second coming of Jesus, they're the same ones that are going to say they're overrated. You said Kobe Mainoo, that's a great example. I've seen that, and it's jarring. It's not going to stop. The young Max Dolman, who's even younger than the two we're talking about, the same's going to happen with him, and again, and it's only going to get worse, in my opinion, man, because you see it on social media. People are tracking 14-year-olds now. It's weird.
Look at the under 18s. Don't get it wrong. You're going to have DJB on, and I said DJB. Yeah, let's just calm down, because everyone's talking about Dowman, lad who looked brilliant, but people saying
Marley same age as in the centre half quality as well.
Yeah, he says he's the closest thing to Liam Brady, and I think that's fine. But this is, we've had loads of players who've been compared to players, and I think what it is how you develop. There's not many players like Wayne Rooney, who just
And Cesc Fabregas, them men are exceptions to the rule, man.
Fabregas, Rooney, Michael Owen, Robbie Fowler.
Yeah, them kind of ones there.
Those players are few and far between. You know what I mean? And I do think
one in a million, literally, once in a generation, potentially.
And that's why I suppose you do have to take a generational talent. But you know who's the current generational talent at the moment? And you'll be surprised at that. I'll tell you, he plays for us, Kai Havertz. He's been groomed as a generational talent from young. No, seriously.
No, I know, because I remember the Leverkusen tag, but it threw me off. It's like because it's on brand with what you're talking about, and he's only 25.
I'm not slacking him off or calling him names, but what I'm saying is that Kai Havertz, when he was coming through in German football, when he came through Leverkusen, he was the next cab of the rank. They were comparing him to the sort of team that Yogi Love had. Your young players.
I'm sure he was compared to Ozil as well, which is mad.
Do you remember that team in the 2010 World Cup? Where the Mullers, the Krooses, the Ozils, the same ones that won the under-21 championship. Yeah, they went and won the World Cup. All those players. That's what I'm saying. All those players. Remember, Germany won the under-21s.
They won there, and then they went and done the 90. I think Spain might have done that as well.
They thrashed England in the final 4-0, and then the next year, a lot of those players in that team formed Germany, the base of Germany's World Cup squad in 2010. A lot of them were generational talent. Now, Kai Havertz has been compared to those kind of players. Hence the reason why he cost £74 million for Chelsea is because he has that generation talent tag. The same reason why we pay £65 million for him is because that tag follows him about. Now, whether he's justified those fees, that's open to question. But he is one of those players. And all I'm saying is that he had that tag. It was pretty heavy for him. I don't want that to happen to our youngsters.
I think you're bang on the money, Kenny, man. And for me, I always say it's one thing to start, and they've started well. It's another thing having a long career. It's a journey. Because obviously, James Milner, for example, is not with Cesc and not with this one and that one. Even Raheem Sterling weren't generational talent, but and we'll get on to him. He started kid. Milner started at 16, 17. He's still quote unquote going strong. A lot of these men that kind of start early, and God forbid it happens to Saka or any of our guys, by the time they get to their latter 20s, it's not this. And I think football fans fail to understand that it's never for a club, it's never just up there. For a player, Ethan isn't just going to play amazing for the rest of his career. We love it, but that's just not how life works. And the same with lewis-skelly. The one thing I would say to them is, for all of the, what they need to work on and what they're doing well, they've taken their chances, they've ran with it. And for me as an Arsenal fan, they've shown me a lot more courage consistently than simply put a lot more of their seniors. I wanna get back into the Champions League. Yeah, would it be fair to say nobody wants to play Arsenal in the Champions League?
Not really, because you got to remember one thing, is that when you get into the exception of PSV, I think the teams that people don't want to play, and let's be honest, no one wants to play Atletico Madrid because tactically and defensively they defend as a unit. No one wants to play Real Madrid because the simple reason is that they got Jude Bellingham, Galactico. They've got Rodrigo, who's a quality player. They've got Vinicius Junior. They got
the Champions League aura with them as well. Like they just
and they've got a goalkeeper. They've got a goalkeeper who's basically like Spencer Gadget. I mean, seriously, he's like a Spencer Gadget. I mean, he's so hard. He gets everything right. His angles are brilliant. He's good at like I said, winning his crosses. He's so hard to beat. And I look at that. No one wants to play Real Madrid, and then there's no one really wants. No, let's be honest. No one wants to play Liverpool. As long as Salah's in that kind of form, not even we'll find it difficult to play against it.
Anfield in the Champions League night as well. It's not a nice place.
And that's the thing. But if you take away those teams I mentioned, I think Arsenal would want to say, look, Bayern Munich, I wouldn't mind having another crack at them. Dortmund, definitely like to have a crack at them because, if you score early against them, you never know. They drew 1-1 yesterday with Lille. And there's so many other teams.
Even if Lille go through, you'd want them as well, with the greatest of respect.
A team that I don't want, and you're probably not going to agree with me, but you'll agree with me once I say it. But you'll be shocked, and you'll think back to it. No, I don't want Aston Villa.
I see it,
I don't want Aston Villa.
I see why you'd say that. I'm personally at the stage now, yeah, where fuck it, man. Like, yeah, I would love a Leo or Monaco, sorry, not Monaco, Leo or Dortmund, ideally, but fuck it, we're in the champs. Everyone's difficult. Naturally, you want to avoid the big boys, but fuck it.
Don't get wrong, but you look at, we are allowed to sort of plot our journey to Munich. For instance, if you look at it, we're in the quarterfinals. We're either going to play Atletico Madrid or Real Madrid, but if you look at a potential quarterfinal, obviously it hasn't kicked off in Paris at the Parc des Princes, but a quarterfinal, a potential all-English quarterfinal is Villa and Liverpool. Now, if Arsenal somehow beat the Madrista sides, they got a potential semi-final against either Liverpool or Aston Villa. Now, I'm sorry to all PSG fans in the chat for my arrogance, but seriously, if you've seen how Liverpool have played today, this season, and I'm not just talking about from an attacking point of view, I look at Liverpool's football this season, and it's not like, I always describe Klopp's football as, Nirvana, Foo Fighters kind of football. You know what I mean? That kind of football. Yeah, it's like heavy metal, everyone jumping up and down with their long hair and sweat with their BO. And then you get this guy comes along and you have he's like classical music, like Tchaikovsky, Peter and the Wolf, Beethoven.
He kind of polishes it up a bit.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Beethoven, that kind of music. And Mozart, that.
Well, them man got Luis Enrique though as their gaffer. He's won it.
He has won it, but come on, he won it with Messi, Neymar, and Luis Suarez. He's now trying to win it with Ousmane
Dembele and Bacola and Kvaratskhelia and that.
Dembele's in the form of his life, but when they played us at the Emirates, we beat them comfortably.
Calafiori looked good defensively, which I can't say he's looked this season. So that's a damning kind of thing on PSG.
I remember with Calafiori. Calafiori's a centre half, and I think
he's still got to be a bit more decent defensively, left back or centre half, man. Like, I don't think that's a strong point of his.
Sometimes you do, but again, he's a youngster trying to learn his trade. Remember,
he's only 22.
Yeah, his reputation in Italy was as basically a defender who can play in a back three, a sweeper, and a centre half. He's now having to. Well, basically, you know what the situation is. I've paid them £35 million for you. This is where I can only play you, so you've got to play there.
You got to do your thing, yeah.
And showing what you got, and I think that's the situation with Calafiori. But you can't really judge Calafiori until he plays in his proper position.
No, I got a lot of time.
Benjamin White playing in his proper position, which is at centre half, and he proved not to be good enough. We all were told that Benjamin White could play centre half, in a free, play as a right back.
No, I've always said he's a right back,
Yeah,
just because for some weird reason I was watching him at Newport when he was playing right back and Leeds, and that I've never fancied him as a centre half. But you are right; that was the general convo.
Yeah, the general conversation is that he can play a variety of positions, but his preferred position, where he made his reputation and where he got into England's squad in 2021, the 2020 European Championships, was as a centre half or someone who can play in a free. So really and truly, we're only going to see the best of Calafiori if he plays in a free. It's the same with Marino. We're only going to see the best of Marino is if he gets a run of games in the midfield position that we bought him for.
Still believe in Marino? Has he done anything? Well, with his run of games and his goals,
for me, you can't judge him. You know why you can't judge him? It's because
he's up front.
The reason you can't judge him is for one reason only. He hasn't had enough games in midfield. The preferred midfield is a solid preferred three of Odegaard, Partey, and Declan Rice. So it's hard for him to break in. We're not going to see the best of him. And when he does get games, because he's trying to make his way, there's nothing to show for it. So we're now looking at him as a centre forward, which he's not. So we're really going to see the real Marino if he turns up next season.
I hope so.
There will be departures in the midfield. There'll be definitely Thomas Partey can't go.
Partey, Jorginho's deals are out.
Yeah, and
do you think there could be more?
Yeah, definitely. And I think you look at the situation. Everyone's talking about the Xhaka position, which is a bit weird as a the left eight. I think that's rewriting
To
history.
rename it after Xhaka is. I know why they do that, but it's a bit crazy.
Yeah, but this is the same Xhaka that they were lambasting under Unai Emery. They were lambasting under Arsene Wenger. They were lambasting for the first few years under Arteta. In fact, this is the same Xhaka that was trying to engineer moves for the last 2 years before he actually got one. Let's not forget, he has never forgiven us. Probably
Rightly so, if you ask me.
Rightly so, because you hear a lot of Arsenal fans playing victims and saying, "Oh, how dare you? How dare you?"
You're telling a grown man to fuck off, and especially one that's hearts on the like one of them heart on the sleeve kind of guys. Was you at the game when he done that? I'm sure you was, because I think I spoke to you after. Because I'm sure I spoke to you after the game because I was there and I said to someone near me, I was like, "What's going on?"
Me and you were the only people defended him. All the people that went on a certain channel played to the gallery. And I don't care. They played to the gallery and said he should never wear an Arsenal shirt again. It's fair enough. But I was at the Villa game when you guys were lambasted him and started having a go at him in the Villa game. I watched the Sheffield United game when you all were having a go at him away. So I don't understand why all of a sudden you're expecting one to show loyalty to you and not bite back. He's human. And then when you go after his family, well, that's a step too far. So
yeah, you're taking it away. By all means, criticize the football, but once you start coming for a man's wife and family, and like you said earlier with the modern game, the weird stuff in the social media, you're allowed to. And for me, I remember vividly being at the game. And Kenny, the most upsetting thing for me was, I don't know how to describe it, but when it feels like you're there somewhere, but it's like you're looking from a bird's eye view. It's like I'm watching a movie. And the saddest thing for me is I genuinely looked around the Emirates, looked at Xhaka, looked at the fans, and thought, you know what, this is a pantomime. And I said it to the guy sitting next to me. I was like, it's either everyone's right or everybody's wrong. You can't, maybe you can argue Xhaka playing for the fans, he shouldn't tell man to F off, but you're telling man to F off. And let's have it right. For all of Xhaka's criticisms and faults, he did get into that territory of Xhaka was a scapegoat. Like he could have actually played all right in the game and he would have been drawn out. And I'm not for that.
100% he was a scapegoat. You know, don't get me wrong, he struggled with the pace of our game.
1,000,000%. His best season was his last one.
Yeah, and let's face it, we thought we were getting a number 6 because he was described as a deep lying midfielder, and we weren't really getting that. But when he played well, he really played well. In big games, he didn't really let us down. He gave his all, and he was very proud to be our captain. However,
masculine guy as well, which is a rarity in today's day and age.
However, I will say that Premiership does kind of find out your true quality. There's a lot of players now that they've left Arsenal, and it's not just Arsenal, but a lot of Premiership players have gone to Italy. They look $1 million. You know what I mean?
Jenny, thank you for saying this.
Like everyone's talking about Alvarez. Oh, Man City made a mistake. Yeah, but
there's something in the water in Italy, man.
But he's playing. Where he's playing at Atletico Madrid is probably his level. You look at Pulisic at Chelsea. Looks $1 million at Milan.
Tell man about the Italian league.
But that's his level. I'm not saying the Italian league is inferior to the English league, but what thing about the English league? If you want a proper test of your quality, then you have to play in England. That's why Cristiano Ronaldo always gets his flowers for people like me. And I'm not saying that. I think that's the reason why I think he's the best player in the world over Messi. There's other reasons. But one thing about Cristiano Ronaldo.
Carry on, but after you say that, let me know who you think is better, Messi or Ronaldo.
After you look at Cristiano Ronaldo, you think about it. He managed to, like I said, become the best player in the world at an English league, a flair player who had to adjust
his striker as well.
Yeah, adjust his game. Because remember, when he first went to Man United, he was basically a winger who basically had a box of tricks but no end product.
No end product, all gear, no idea.
Yeah, but if you look at his season in 2006-2007 season, that's when the penny dropped for him. And in 2007, 2008,
off the back of that World Cup, if I remember rightly, where he was publicly enemy number 1 as well.
Yeah, he was the best player in the world by a mile. And obviously it was, and then the season afterwards, it was between him and Messi. And then when you look at it, when he went to Real Madrid, his goal ratio is fantastic, but he became a different player. Now, one of the reasons why I look at Leo Messi, he excites me. Individually, he's got quick feet, great player. But I always compare him to Maradona. Maradona, in '86 won the World Cup in his own. Leo Messi was an inspirational figure when Argentina won the World Cup in 2022. The players played for him. He was basically like their godfather, and he scored some good goals. But when it comes to grabbing the tournament, but on your own, like Pele and Maradona done with their countries, I don't put Messi up there. But in terms of Cristiano Ronaldo now, I look at Portugal. I look at the 2016 European Championships. Now, obviously,
played against Cristiano.
Even in final. But you can tell me now that guy dragged Portugal straight to that final. Also, I always ask myself a question: if you're the best player in the world, not only do you have to prove it consistently, you have to do it in other leagues. He went from Portugal to England and he conquered England, and then he went to Spain. He went to Spain, and he basically became arguably just as good, if not greater, than some of the Spanish greats. Greater than Hugo Sanchez, Bueno, Raúl, up there with Di Stefano at Real Madrid. He'd done it.
Love the accent. I love the way you put the accent, like the accent when you pronounce the names. In footballing terms, he's a pensioner and still scored goals. Then he came to Man United, which was a mistake. In the hardest league in the world, still scored. That's a good point, though. Messi did take them lot to the final when they did play a generational, Germany side.
Yeah, but if you look at it, he was playing a tournament in 2010. But if you compare Messi's performances in 2010,
Ronaldo's gone out the group stage a couple of times.
Maradona's in '86. It's night and day, man.
But he's always. Don't you feel that's going to go against Messi though? In that you got the great man Maradona. Like Portugal's obviously got quality, but every time you say Messi, you hear Maradona's name. You don't quite hear Portuguese talent like that.
There are people in football, people like Jamie Carragher, who will say that Messi is the greatest player of all time, even though Jamie Carragher was old enough to remember 1986. There are even people who are older than Jamie Carragher who think Messi's still who's the best player of all time. Now, younger fans got no problem with that because at the end of the day, you go with what you see.
My 29 years, Messi's the best ever.
And I've got respect for that. For instance,
he's not my GOAT, but he is my GOAT, if that makes sense. Like R9 and Henry are my guys, but Messi, come on, Kenny. Messi.
I was born in 1972, just after Pele retired for international football, but he was still playing. He was still an exhibition player. But I thought he was the best player of all time. And then I lived through Diego Maradona.
But that's why you're always going to be not against Messi, but you seem like that's my thing. Like Messi was always going to be held like that. And I still think, even though I can't speak for Argentina, I don't know them, but he's always going to have that.
Fuad Dadan, you've got a good question. And you know what, Fuad? I'm so glad you asked me that, because if you look at before Maradona went to Napoli won nothing. When Maradona went there, they broke the domination of Juventus.
Yeah, I saw that in the documentary.
Internazionale, Sampdoria. He won the league on his own in Serie A, which was a more superior league to today's Premiership, because the best players in the world were playing there. If you look in the 80s and the 70s, if you were the best player in the world, you had to play in Italy, where basically in Italy, it was basically like Catenaccio. If you score 15 goals a season, you're a world-class player. There was no space, defenses ruled, and basically, if you didn't touch the ball in Italian football, the Gazzetta dello Sport would give you 0 out of 10. No word of a lie.
The game's your system. All right. Let me ask you this then, Kenny, because I think you're making a compelling point about the leagues, yeah. But forget all of that. Give them both a football. You reckon Ronaldo's at their prime? You reckon Cristiano Ronaldo's talking to Messi? Because I think Messi is better than him at everything.
It's 160% because 150% because he's the only one who can. And you look at his record, you can't discount Cristiano Ronaldo's record.
What can Ronaldo do that's better than Messi?
Go to other leagues and prove himself.
Yeah, no, I hear that. But I'm saying, put them on a pitch in their prime, give them both a football. Come on, man. Messi better than him, bro.
You are comparing them. The fact is that they went to bed Instead of thinking about their partners, they went to bed dreaming of each other and outdoing each other. It's true.
Yeah, no, they helped each other. They definitely pushed each other. They definitely did.
Do you remember? Obviously, it's a bit before your time, but when I was growing up, there was 2 tennis players called Bjorn Borg and John McEnroe. And John McEnroe basically cried when Bjorn Borg retired because he said he wanted to, because they were superior to any other tennis player.
It was just them versus them.
Yeah, he wanted Bjorn Borg to take John McEnroe to unreal heights, and they were going to take each other's games. Now, if you look at the modern day version, is Messi and Ronaldo. Now, the reason why I always argue is that a lot of Messi fans, they tend to think it's Messi or no one else. They tend to slag. They start to think, oh, Cristiano Ronaldo, he's crap. He can't.
I hear that.
When really and truly, you should celebrate both players. I'm a Ronaldo fan, right? But I know that Messi individually has got great skills, and individually he's probably better than Cristiano. But I remember Cristiano.
All right, so ain't he a better player then?
No,
you just said it. You said it. No,
I did it.
I hear you with the league stuff, but I'm just saying give them both. Well, Messi's better than Ronaldo, man.
Yeah, but do you remember Cristiano Ronaldo before Alex Ferguson told him to cut it out?
I remember his whole career. I remember when he was a frustrating dickhead that did a bunch of party tricks and used to dive. I remember when it really kicked off, like you said earlier, like he started to come into form, and then the 06 thing, and then the rest is history. But come on, Kenny, man, Messi better than him, bro.
Yeah, but both of them had the same pathway to greatness. If you remember Messi, when he first came to Barcelona, when he first started Barcelona on the Frank Rijkaard, he didn't start games. It was always Ronaldinho, Deco, and Samuel Eto'o. Messi used sparingly. So, in terms of like his career only took off probably in the last season of Frank Rijkaard, and then also Guardiola thought that Deco, Eto'o, and Ronaldinho are bad influences, and he said, right, this is Messi's team. Cristiano Ronaldo, at a time when he first went to Man United, similar situation, wasn't getting on with Ruud van Nistelrooy.
Had to win over them kind of man, yeah.
But again, it's the same kind of development where he was ahead of Messi, and then Messi kind of caught him up. But if you look at their stats, the stats are similar. The trophies are quite similar. Obviously, Messi.
I'm saying give them both a ball.
But you know what it is? You know what it is, DG? It's who you prefer. It's who you prefer.
I hear that. I just think Messi. I just think there's nothing Ronaldo can. And I'm not dissing Ronaldo because I've said this before. I think by default, you don't have to like Messi. You don't have to like Ronaldo. If everyone was to name their 5 GOATs, by default, both of them man have to be in there if you're a true fan of football. But I'm just saying, if you give them both a football, Messi better than him. There's nothing Ronaldo can do that Messi can't. Better creator, better dribbler.
It's personal preferences, isn't it? It's personal preferences. Because
is it because Messi can't do it on a cold night at Stoke, like somebody commented?
No, nothing at all. It's just
no, we're joking, man.
I think Messi will find the Premiership a piece of piss, but I prefer Ronaldo. That's all it is.
No, I hear that. There's nothing wrong with that. People talk like that's mad.
Yeah, but it's the same debate Arsenal fans have with Bergkamp and Henry. Now, a majority of Arsenal fans you speak to, they'll tell you that Bergkamp's the best player they've ever seen. But I think it's Thierry Henry, because I always felt that with Thierry Henry, because I watched all of their careers at Arsenal, Thierry Henry, I never thought we would lose a game with him. I always thought that he could win a game on his own. Whilst Dennis Bergkamp, there were a lot of games with Dennis where sometimes, just sometimes, he had quiet games. You know, people tend to rewrite history about Dennis. Obviously, they look at the reels, they look at the goal against the fact that in 1997, you know, goal in a month, he was 1, 2, and 3 at Arsenal. And then you look at the goal against Newcastle, what he did to Davies ass. Did he mean it? Of course he meant it. It's Dennis Bergkamp. But I look at Vavavoom, and I think about Vavavoom, and I think, hang on here.
The reason him and Vieira, the reason I support this club.
Yeah, but if you look at Henry, us winning the double in 2002 and us winning the Invincibles, a lot of it is down to Henry.
A lot of it's down to him, especially when we went, if I remember correctly, when we went out of Europe and we was feeling down in the dumps, he carried us. We don't have players like that anymore, man.
Yeah, and that's why I think I prefer Vavavoom. Now, I don't know the French for Vavavoom, but I can find out and go and Google if you want. But he's Vavavoom.
Oh man! And now look at what we've got in today's day and age, man. I wanted to ask you as well before we forget. Yeah, Do you actually? Who do you think we got more chance of beating, Real Madrid or Atletico, over 2 legs? Because I think you kind of alluded it to it earlier. You know, the stardust that Real Madrid have make them a favourites. I'm not really keen on a stink fest between Arsenal and Atletico. I think I would gear towards Atletico a bit more. But where are you at? And the second leg in the Bernabeu is an issue as well.
I don't want to play either teams because simple reasons. Both teams have got their own sort of strengths.
Mm.
You've got to remember, if you, it's a case of like, all right, who would you prefer to play? If we go back to English football, would you prefer to play Pep Guardiola's Man City or Klopp's Liverpool? Either way,
Peps
on their day, both from a thrasher. It's It's different perspectives. The thing is that everyone looks at Real Madrid's stardust, but people forget when they won the Champions League in 2022 and last year, they won it with low blocks. They won the Champions League against Dortmund, who had better chances as well. With a low block. They won the low block and won on a counter-attack. Against Liverpool, how did they score their goal, Vinicius Jr.? On the counter-attack. And then when they went 1-0 up, they went low block. So people were saying that, Real Madrid have got Bellingham, they got Mbappe, they got Rodrigo, they got Valverde, they got Vinicius Jr. They're stardust. No, don't underestimate them. When it comes to the Champions League, this is their trophy. They don't mess around. They are capable of doing a low block. You only look because you look at Simeone and you think, Simeone, low block, hits the counter attack. Real Madrid can do that.
They're more Atletico are more known for it. But
Real Madrid, in the final, they didn't entertain anyone at Wembley. They just came to win. In Paris, 2 years before that, they came to win. So when Arsenal fans say Real Madrid are one of those teams where you're going to have more of a chance, know your football. Rewatch those Champions League finals in 2022 and 2024 and see how Real Madrid played. They did not play expansive football.
And there's a different aura with Real Madrid in La Liga and the Champions League. Like even this year, like one of the comments said, they did lose to Betis at the weekend. They do kind of F about, but I just think because Real Madrid, it should be renamed Real Madrid's trophy, really, because that can get managed.
You can say about us in the league, we've been distinctly average. In the League Cup, we were okay until we played a team that knew how to defend, and we struggled.
I just think the aura at Real Madrid is different, man. I back our chances against Atletico.
We're different, but you look at our performances in the Champions League; they've been exemplary, with the exception of Internazionale and Atalanta. We've been perfect.
I just think it's our team. I also, no disrespect to Arsenal, but in the champs, I just feel the European model they don't really do the low blocks thing. The games are kind of open kind of thing. But then again, when we did play 2 teams that are tactically a stout, I did think the ref did us dirty against Inter, but we never scored our chances. Atalanta, we were fortunate to get a point. So I don't know how. I know when Arsenal fans are starting to do this thing where they were doing it long before the league was a write-off. Like we've got more chance of the champs. I must admit though, man, like have you got any optimism, Kenny, that this picture could come true? Like
I hope so. I was in Paris in 19 years ago. I'll tell you one thing now. I was talking
first time I cried over Arsenal.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to GJB. And I can tell you right now, that was the worst day of my life. And I'll tell you one thing now.
13 minutes from winning it.
Yeah, but you know what? That referee, I hate him with a passion I could die for. I hate the man. He's the most corrupt individual ever. I was at the game and I couldn't believe it. Every time Van Bommel got the ball, he went down and like a sack of spuds, free kick.
And they kicked on all about.
Ronaldinho was diving all over the place. Deco was cheating, wasting time. You think about what happened with Lehmann. The fact that he makes the foul, but hang on, Julie puts a ball in the net. Give the goal. Why send him off? Give the goal.
You're going to make me cry, man. You're going to make me cry, man, thinking about Paris.
Remember 2-0 when we could have gone 2-0 up? Henri, he's got to put that away, man. That's the game.
My hero didn't do what he needed to do in that game, man. I mean,
a back pass, and then next season he joins Barcelona. Do you remember that? Do you remember he's actually Barcelona actually coming in for him? And I remember coming back from Paris.
He said no. Second time I cried.
Yeah, but I was coming back from Paris, and believe it or not, you're not gonna be surprised by this. Well, you're gonna be surprised, but you want to give the guy a clip round here. As pork chops go, he's actually a pork chop. No, this guy's an absolute pork chop. Because you
smash the like button, people, man.
Yeah, but no. Hear me out, right? You know how we get to Paris. Remember, we got the Arsenal coach from Holloway Road, and Holloway Road. We went to Dover and Medway, and then all of a sudden we got onto the hovercraft into Paris and Boulogne. I think into Calais, and then from Calais we drove to Paris. Anyway, it was with the Arsenal coach. On the coach coming back, this pork chop went up to me. He said, "Do you think Henry missed that chance on purpose because he wants to move to Barcelona?" What can you say to that? Your team's just lost. You've got a pork chop who's just come up to you and suggested that Henry missed that chance on purpose because he was wanted to go.
Nah, you got to tell him to fuck off, man.
I couldn't. But I'll tell you one thing. You mentioned the emotional part of the situation, i.e., you cried. Trust me, there were loads of Arsenal fans crying in Paris.
We're 13 minutes away, Kenny, from winning it. Like that is, I know. Obviously, I'm 29. I saw us win league titles, Invincible, Henry, Vieira.
Crying. A lot of people.
That run, yeah, that's what I'm saying. The run was so perfect.
You know what? On the coach back to Calais, people were crying. I could hear people crying on the coach. On the hovercraft back to Dover, people cried. On the coach from Dover to Holloway Road, people were crying, and I didn't cry, but I got emotional because the next day they showed Liverpool a rerun of Liverpool winning the Champions League the year before, and I thought,
yeah, we all know how that was. We never get that luck.
Yeah, and it got to me because I remember the whole day of Paris when we're in the final, and basically it was one of the best days of my life. And that's the thing. That's why I always say to people: if you go to a cup final, FA Cup final, League Cup final, Champions League final, Europa League final, make a bloody day of it. Because I'll tell you, if you don't make a day,
when we got to the FA Cup final,
I promise you, and you just go to the match, it'll be the biggest waste of your time. It's an experience in itself. Even if you lose a cup final, make sure you make a day of it because that is footballing memories. That's why you support Arsenal, because of days like that. That's why you have a season ticket, because of days like that. That's why you go up to your mate and say, "Look, I'll give you £300 for my FA Cup final
season tickets are being rising as well."
That's why people pay £500 for cup final tickets or grand for a cup final ticket of any nature because of things like that. That's why I say to you, make the bloody most of it. And even though we lost the Champions League final, I made the most of it. It was the best day of my life until the game kicked off. And I've got another story for you. If you go on the Arsenal sort of season, a season like a DVD for the 05-06 season review, I'm on there. I was wearing a Burberry hat and I had my Arsenal top on, and it was before the game where it was on a big screen. So I thought, oh yeah, let me be a pork chop and a glory hunt and let's just wave. So you'll see me on there. If anyone's got the DVD of the 05-06 season, you're going to see this pork chop with a Burberry hat and his glasses waving like waving.
And that's funny. I'm definitely going to check that out. I want to ask you something because we started talking about the 06 final. Yeah. Do you think if we won that, the trajectory of the club, obviously literally the year later and so on up until this point, do you think it would have been different?
No, not at all. Because I think what's happened is that the reason why I say it wouldn't have changed is because the 06, when you think about the 06 Champions League final, that was basically the end of the Invincible team. Because you think about it, a lot of Invincibles.
Henry was the last one left.
Yeah, you think about it. Henry was there, played in that game. Sol Campbell played in that game. Lane was in goal, got sent off. Then you had Ashley Cole, who was injured most of that season, but he played in that game as well. You had Pires, obviously, he got substituted. Lumbo playing that game in an Invincible. I think Gilberto Silva played in that game in Invincible as well. And so when you think about it, the spine of the Invincibles was in that side, but afterwards it was a situation where Arsene Wenger turned us into Barcelona, where I always say that the worst thing that ever happened to Arsenal was when Spain dominated world football, because Arsene Wenger felt that if Spain could do it, Arsenal can do it. But Arsenal really didn't have the players and thinkers to play like that in the Premiership, because in the Premiership you had big boys like Man United and Chelsea, who had the big lads in midfield,
we had the stuffing kicked out of us and legs broken.
Yeah, just stuffing out of us. You know what I mean?
It's upsetting, man, that you say that, because a part of me feels like it would have changed, but then the way you just broke it down, especially with everybody leaving, certain people would have still been the owners as well.
You know, it's like when you talk about past football eras, you got to put yourself into the zeitgeist, and basically the zeitgeist is a German word. If you do history like I do, because I got a degree in history, and I went to University College London, believe it or not. Forget the Cockney accent and forget the stuttering.
No, I mean people. No. It's good that you said that. People like to judge.
One of the things they sort of teach you, you know, when you do history, especially, they use the word zeitgeist, which is basically a German word which means spirit of the age. And if you go into the footballing zeitgeist, like I do, sometimes some fans don't go into the footballing zeitgeist, and they sometimes, you know what, rewrite history.
Paint it in a nice way.
I'm not blowing myself up. I'm just stating a fact.
I just ignore him, man. He's a troll, man. Ignore him.
Stop being jealous, mate. It's not my fault that I look like a pork chop, but I got an education.
I can't lie. I got another question for you, then, Kenny, man. Like, obviously,
yeah. Boy 10 Dio is completely right. You know what? I like coming on your podcast because me and him do have a report, and he's 100% right.
He's a mod here, man.
Football fans don't like going into the footballing zeitgeist.
Because football's about dreaming, man. You paint whatever. Now, Kenny, we're seeing it to this day and age. You either hate Arteta or you love him, and I'm sure you saw it on social media. The minute we beat PSV, oh my God, all the Arteta haters, all the statistics. No, it's not either here or there. That's the narrative they want, because that's how they go to sleep.
It's empathy, though. You got to use empathy because
it's harder to be honest. People don't want to be told their shit stinks. They'd rather be told it's the new perfume, man.
Yeah, but the real football fans, the majority of fans, are not know that we've had this before. We've had the full storms. Let's not forget, we beat Man City 5-1. What happened in the next game? We got smashed by Newcastle.
Sporting and West Ham before. We did that last season as well.
We had a lot of good games, but they were sort of were followed by average, boring performances, and that's
year before Bournemouth, a couple years before that, Leicester at home. It's a good memory and that goal and that, but it don't mean much in the grand scheme of it.
Yeah. But the reason why is because one, we haven't played well all season, so we've been inconsistent. Two, we now got injuries, so it's hard to be consistent. And let's face it, hindsight is 2020, but Man City are crap this season. You've got to, if you get an opportunity that Man City's representing us with, you've got to take it.
You have to make it happen.
Every other decent team who's played Man City have punished them for every mistake they've made. Sporting Lisboa are just naive, and we're naive, but we've got to punish them. Lons were just crap, but it was still a great performance. And if you could even like rewind it back to last season when we played really well, we won 6-0 against Sheffield United. Got relegated. We won 5-0.
I saw someone tweet that was like that result is like bragging about beating up a blanket.
And then Crystal Palace, who are they? So we were beating teams we should be beating, but I understand where fans are coming from because of the manner of the wins, the fact that we play really good football. Of course, you're gonna say, right, we can win the Champions League, because a lot of people on the quiet have thought, you know what, this is the basket. All our eggs have got to go in this basket. So of course they're gonna get like I said, I'm happy and think. And you know what? Anything can happen in football. You don't know what happens.
I mean, Henry said we might be able to do it, based on this. He said he thinks we can beat them.
Thierry, the day before, he said we couldn't score in a barn door from a yard. Hit a barn door from a yard. So it changes, isn't it? You go from like A to B.
One result can change narratives. Have you seen Henry's been actually getting a lot of stick on social media?
Well, Henry will get stick from social media because you've got to remember one thing, right, is that it was the same Arsene Wenger. Tynam's got a lot of stick. Petit got a lot of stick because of the questions they're asking of Arsene Wenger. William Gallas gets a lot of stick. Got a bit of stick because of the things.
I can't like any fuck Gallas, man. I hate him.
Yeah, I know a lot of Arsenal fans hate him, but the reason why a lot of Arsenal fans hate him is because he had no, in Arsenal fans' eyes, he's not one of us. How dare he go on and have a go at us when he's a Chelsea man? If that was an
and being
Arsenal
a
man
cunt against West at half time.
Yeah, but if that was an Arsenal man doing that, I think we'd be more forgiving of it because Arsenal people have said the same things that William Gallas has said. But going back to Mikel Arteta,
it's the messenger versus the message.
Yeah, but it depends who's the messenger, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
But if you look at Mikel Arteta is a lot of fans have basically put their mortgages, their life savings,
their kids' tuition fees at uni,
their pocket money, their the money they're hiding, the money that's made for the tax man on Mikel Arteta. And so really, so at the end of the day, they generally believe that when Mikel Arteta comes good, if he comes good, because I doubt he will.
Still, I told you so.
If Arsenal, can you imagine if Arsenal won the Champions League or won the league?
I won't lie. If he wins the Champions League, build him a statue because you've done something I haven't seen at my club in it. Building that statue.
I'll tell you one thing, DG. I think the people who love Arteta the most are going to spend more time having a go at me and the Rat Army rather than celebrate the fact
big
that
up league under man.
The league. But that's how the people are because
I told you so. They don't want to. They yes. I think you're bang on the money. And do you know what I find funny about Lee? Yeah, because people can say what they want about Lee. He was quite positive yesterday. The same people that clip him out of context and when he's being negative or whatever they say, they never done that. There wasn't the same energy, which is harsh.
A good mate, someone I've got a lot of time for, and I like him a lot. The first
Lee's my guy, man.
Yeah, the first week he said that he thought Lee's going to be upset because we won, and I'm thinking, hang on here, Arsenal fans are all the same. You can still say something's not good enough, but still enjoy the game. I enjoyed every minute of that match.
And half the people are saying the same things we're saying. Like, it don't make sense to me, Kenny. Like people said, it's actually afraid of being wrong. It's like, I told you so. I don't care about being, and Kenny's the same, and everyone else. Who cares about being right or wrong? Like, nobody can be right or wrong 100% of the time. We just want Arsenal to lift some bloody trophies, and above everything, with this little foundation that we have, actually create stuff. You just heard Kenny earlier say about getting to the final and making a day of it. That's what fans remember. That is what gives us that.
My advice to all of you guys, please do that, because I'll tell you one thing, right? I'm glad I did that because 9 years down the line, we haven't been any. We've only got to a semi-final. We haven't got close to being in the Champions League. And the same thing as well. You look at the situation in 2004 when we won the league and we were the Invincibles. I actually shamelessly thought that was a norm, and I didn't enjoy it as much as I should have, because if I had known, right, that we wouldn't win the league for 21 years and counting, I would have enjoyed it more. Because seriously,
I had no choice.
Yeah, but you think about it, because we won the double 2 years before that. I didn't. I thought
you thought it was normal. Yeah. You forgot. Like, you got too used to the high life.
I looked at it, right, and I thought, you know what? The next season, forget Abramovich, forget Mourinho. I got Henri, I got Sol Campbell, I got these Invincibles. We're going to retain it. We're going to dominate.
Little did we know.
Little did I know. Chelsea came along. The Man City came along. And before you knew it, it was like, let's just say, I stopped
crying
giving
again,
up.
man.
You know what it is? I stopped giving up thinking Arsenal win the title. Probably 5 years when was it? In 2009, I knew we wouldn't win the title for a long, long time. But I actually had hope until I had hope in 07, 08. And after that,
I knew he was going to say that. I was thinking. Yeah, I gave up.
I still blame Arsene Wenger for it, because if Arsene Wenger played Jens Lehmann all season, I think we would have won the league, because we need a leader. And Munya is just basically the geezer.
He's been committing crap. Almunia committed so many crimes.
You know how I describe Munya, and it's not horrible thing to say. He's basically a geezer who got a scholarship and was able to play for Arsenal. It's true though. You think about it. I'm not knocking them, But you know the situation.
Remember, there used to be England shouts for him as well, and actually Arteta.
Exactly. But you think about you know the score. People come from working class backgrounds, and they get a scholarship to go to Cambridge. That's him. That's Almunia. Gets a scholarship to play for Arsenal. Think about it. Or basically, but I'm not knocking it because majority of football fans.
I swear, this is why I love having Kenny here, man.
Yeah, but you think about it, a majority of us have come from working class backgrounds and lived in working class areas, and we went to comprehensive school, and there were some kids who basically weren't able to get money from their mum and dads, so they had to have school meals. Or some kids who were really brainy but their parents
they got the special little scholarships if their parents they've had the piece.
And Almunia becoming Arsenal #1 was like him getting a scholarship.
We've had some shit keepers from Almunia being here up until really, I would, to a degree, Ramsdale and Raya. I think we've had some piss poor keepers between Almunia, Ospina. To be fair, Fabianski, when we won the FA Cup, was good, but he was shit. Szczesny was probably one of the better ones. He was shit. Petr Cech was not the Petr Cech or anything remotely close to Chelsea.
Like
some terrible guys.
Szczesny, right, should have been one of our best. Should have been one of our better keepers. And he
loved the cigarette.
Yeah, because simple reason is he was groomed to be the next cab of the rank. You think about Arsenal goalkeepers. Obviously before your time there was Bob Wilson, Pat Jennings, John Lukic, Dave Seaman. Obviously your time. You had after Dave Seaman, Jens Lehmann. Now, one thing I would String, I remember our conversation. And I remember meeting you. It's good to meet you,
It's a small world, man. You seen the Stringer Bell guy. I big him up. He's always here. I don't know what he looks like, but shout out to him. It's a small world.
Yeah, but I'll tell you one thing about Jens Lehmann. There's a lot of people who would. Hello, James. I know you, mate. How you doing? You right, mate?
A lot of time for James. Big him up, man.
One thing I will say, right, and I'm going to start a debate, and and I know you guys love a debate. Even what's his name? The guy who's always, who wasn't happy with me. What's his name? Bank Hero 95. I'm going to really put everything.
Getting at you for being a historian. Now, flip it up.
Yeah. I'm really going to wind you up now. There's a debate amongst the Arsenal fans who is a greater goalkeeper, Jens Lehmann and David Seaman. Now, a lot of young people, a lot of fans say Jens Lehmann. The majority say David Seaman. That's the debate. Because I had the debate yesterday on.
Seaman weren't the same after Ronaldinho, though, man.
So, who would you say is the best goalkeeper that you've seen? And just remember, you can only nominate goalkeepers who won things for us.
I'm actually going to say Lehmann, because I think it's nostalgia if I say David Seaman, and I don't think he was quite the same after Ronaldinho.
All right, why did you pick Lehmann over Seaman?
Because, do you know what? It's actually got nothing to do with the goalies. I just think Lehmann demanded excellence, if I'm completely honest with you. Kind of piggybacking off what you said about leadership. And that's actually something for me in my 29 years I find hard to deal with. Like, I vividly remember us winning the Premier League at Spurs' ground and Sol Campbell and Lehmann getting into a tear-up. So I can't really understand where we're at with it. But I'd say Lehmann, man. I'd actually say Lehmann.
Well, you know what? You know the situation, right? I don't know if you guys I'm one of those guys, right, that I wanted to sit in the fence, but DJB wouldn't let me because I wanted a photo finish where both of the 100 meters when you had the photo finish, both of them got 9.98. Both of their torsos went the same finished over the line. So I think, right, they both get gold medals. But DJB wouldn't let me. And I said that it's so hard that I felt guilty, but I bottled it and I named David Seaman. But in my heart of hearts, I agree with you.
This is what I'm saying, because I think I've got better nostalgia with David Seaman. I'll be real, man. It's a good question, to be fair. Like, to be fair, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I would go towards Jens Lehmann. I think we missed that level of excellence, if I'm honest, just in how he carried himself. No slight on Seaman.
I think when you talk about it, and that's the whole situation. you know, when we sort of kind of fast forward it to this year, one of the reasons why we won't win the league this season, and we haven't looked close to winning the league, is because we haven't had players like Lehman. We haven't had great goalkeepers like
going to war with each other, so the opposition's fucked.
Yeah, yeah, and that is the situation. We haven't had these kind of players, and that's why a lot of younger fans will look at Gabriel Saliba and one guy actually went on TV and he said that Gabriel and Saliba are better than Adams and Bold, but he's only seen Adams and Bold. He's only seen Gabriel and Saliba. But my question,
and he's only seen them on the YouTube.
But my issue with him is one, is not that he should know his history, but my criteria. If you want to be a great Arsenal, you have to win something, and you have to win something consistently. Because I think
is that fair though?
I think it is fair. I think it is fair because we're a big club, and it's not as if we're Portsmouth or Plymouth or, dare I say,
apologies to those fans
or Tottenham. Right?
No apologies to them.
Spurs fans. I know there's a lot of Spurs fans on the channel. I've got a lot of Spurs fans who I grew up with in Islington. Traitors. I've got a cousin who's a Spurs fan. Traitor. Yeah, but as I said before, at Arsenal, we're the third biggest club in the country. So if you want to be a great, right?
I think you're making a fair point.
You have to win something, and you have to win the league. It's the same thing in Germany. In Germany, Brazil, Italy, you can only be a great international player if you won something for those countries. Because
that was the one thing over Messi's head. He never won the World Cup with Argentina.
And Argentina. No. You have to win major tournaments for your country to be called a great. And it's the same for me. At Arsenal, if you don't win things for Arsenal, then I can't call you a great. And it's not personal. It's just it's the only way you can do it. Because at the end of the day, to win major trophies and major football matches, you have to be able to overcome adversity, as well as put teams to the sword. But there's going to be times over a season where you are going to play teams with low blocks. You are going to play a team that's having a game of their life. You're not going to have
ideal conditions on or off the field.
You are going to play against at Goodison Park where the crowd's on top of you. You are going to play against in a match where the referee's having a stinker and you're not getting anything. But you have to be able to deal with that, and that's how you win big trophies. But for me, all day long, I can't say Saliba and Gabriel are Arsenal greats because they haven't won anything.
And I can't. They can be some of the greatest players we've seen in the Emirates era because the bar's on the floor. But in terms of being an Arsenal legend or a great, slow down.
Win something.
Slow down.
Win something.
Win something. Saliba's the best person. You said Saliba says to be a great, I need to win shit. He actually does say that.
Yeah, but it's like Liverpool. It's like Liverpool. A lot of Liverpool fans, modern Liverpool fans, say Steven Gerrard is the greatest ever Liverpool player. But I look at it and say, hang on here. What about Terry McDermott? What about Kenny Dalglish? What about John Barnes? What about Jimmy Case? What about David Johnson? What about Alan Hansen? What about
in present day? You can throw Mo Salah in there.
They all won leagues. All those guys won leagues and Champions Leagues, whilst Gerrard's never won the league.
Damn, I guess you just can't have everything you want in this life, man. Kenny, let people know they can find you, man. As usual, this is another great chat. Hopefully, we do it again tomorrow. Next week. It'd be lovely.
Of course, we'll do it next week.
Come on,
look, it's up to the chat. If you're going to put up with this old fogey with who doesn't cut his hair, doesn't trim his beard.
Oh, we don't care about none of that crap, man.
Doesn't use hair dye to disguise the fact he's going grey. Hey, I'm all for it,
Kenny's a madman, but yeah, people, same time Wednesday, he'll be here. Love the chat. We got to start talking more broadly about Arsenal. I enjoyed the kind of Champions League chat, man. Kenny, let people know they can find you.
Well, you can find me causing all sorts of trouble on Arsenal. Sorry, not Arsenal Fan TV. Bloody hell, I'm banned from there. At Kenny Ken 1972 on Instagram. As you can say, Twitter is a cesspit of political opinion that's basically on the floor.
Everybody's running away from Twitter now, man. Everyone, because young and old, people I speak to, people I've had on the show, they're like, I'm not on Twitter no more. I'm only on it because I have to be.
You know why people left Twitter? Because all of a sudden, right, instead of finding out their opinions on Arsenal and trying to enjoy the win, they tend to tell me more. They tend to tell me about the person who put their shoes on the seat next to them at a train, the person who eats with his mouth open, or the person who is a reform, likes Nigel Farage and Tommy Robinson.
Yeah, man, and just race baiting shit. If I'm honest, even from whoever, even from the guy who owns the fucking thing now.
I don't know. One thing about Elon Musk is that a lot of people who I've blocked on Twitter can now see what I write. So I don't write nothing. Yeah,
even that as well. So it's all pointless now, man. It's all pointless. He's trying to be the modern day Rupert Murdoch, to be fair, and a billionaire that owns Twitter, which
James, you're banned as well from there. James is banned from AFTV as well.
Big up James, man. Big up. Shout out Robbie and that, but big up James. James, if you're looking for a home, you can find one here, mate. Shout me, give me here, man. We house all the unruly youths, man.
I think the criteria to get banned on certain channels is basically saying as it is.
This guy. And on that note, people, I'm live with Premsy in a second. Kenny, I'll see you next week, my guy.
That's an Arsenal fan CV store, if you see one.
He's a legend, man. Well, yeah, people.
Fan TV stalwart.
Like, comment, subscribe. We're out, man. Love Kenny.
See you later.
Same. Always